Hey folks, here we are. David opposing the Matrix. How you doing? It is a very disorganized Tuesday. A lot of stuff went on today, folks. Lots of stuff, and I barely got on the air today, but I'm here. Okay, and on time too. What about that? Okay, so it's the 2nd of December, 2025. You got 23 days left to go into Hawk for Christmas. Okay, 23 days left. So if you're into that thing, get cracking because it'll be upon you before you know it. No, I've never have liked. I like the idea of Christmas, but I don't like the what the world has made it into. It's the world has turned Christmas into an extravaganza that has absolutely nothing to do with Yeshua HaMashiach, or Jesus Christ, as he is known to many of you Gentiles. And I don't know. I really don't know how you do it. Going into Hawk every December and just get paid everything off, and then it comes around again and again and again and again. It's as tedious as tax time is on the 15th of April, isn't it? All right. So what the heck are we going to talk about today, huh? Why don't we look into this here? And a few years ago, actually in 2017, I was very interested in something that happened. Of course, it happened in Las Vegas. And so the title to tonight's show is Reexamining the Shooting Massacre in Las Vegas. Their silence is deafening. So again, back in the autumn of 2017, a horrific mass shooting occurred in Las Vegas, perpetuated by a so-called lone gunman. Yeah, right. That we are supposed to believe fired two different weapons simultaneously, more than 10 feet, many more than 10 feet apart, were the broken windows. And he fired two guns at the same time, which I found quite interesting too. But so it's just one oddity, and that's what we're told to believe. You know, that we're brainwashed to believe, or a lot of people were anyway. I wasn't, and I know a lot of you aren't either. Because if you're listening to this show, or if you're watching this show, you are in tune. You know what's going on, and you don't let them pull the wool over your eyes, so to speak. So anyway, their supposed lone shooter was found a while later, laying on the hotel room floor, supine, with his arms at his side, looking akin to what a body looks like when it's in a coffin. It was neatly laid out. It really was. Couldn't have asked for it to be nicer. Yeah, his face was a mess because he shot himself in the mouth. But other than that, you know, his arms were and his feet were just kind of, his legs were straight out and his feet were, you know, pointed a little to the side. But yeah, it's if that's the way he landed after shooting himself in the mouth, and then I don't know. I guess people will believe anything, you know. That's a violent act, you know, and that trigger goes off, no matter what the caliber is. It just messes with your spine, and you know, if it splinters off, it can hit your carotid artery, and boy, it hits something because he's a mess. But and you'll see a picture of him later. By the way, I want to put a disclaimer in right now that there's some gross pictures that you're going to see, at least one of them anyway. And if you're kind of queasy about that, I'll warn you just ahead of time. But you may want to just kind of turn away and not look, okay? Because I was a nurse, okay, or am a nurse, and I find it hard to look at, okay. So I can only imagine what people that don't have the medical technology field what they think. And well, again, I will give you a hint or let you know when it's coming up, okay. Maybe at that time you can go get yourself a nice cold drink. By the way, I was drinking Coke Zero for a while, folks. Now I'm not. These people do not sponsor me. But when I find something good, I like to share it. You know, and a lot of people are going to say, oh, that stuff has a lot of garbage in it. Well, yeah, it doesn't everything. Okay. But Pepsi Zero is 1,000 times better than Coke Zero. I never thought I would say that. I feel like I'm betraying an old friend, but Coke Zero stinks. So, anyway, l'chaim. Okay. So, we were told that he took his own life and he shot himself in the mouth. His face was a mess, like I said, and the whole scene looked like somebody had executed him and laid him out on the floor in a manner that was just too neat. It was just too neat, folks. It screams, it screams conspiracy. It screams more than one shooter. Okay. And to make things even more worse, a few days later, the sheriff, who had appeared to be determined and confident, um, and he appeared to be so determined to find the truth that, you very rarely find people like that. Well, he started to look like a little child that wants to tell the truth but's being forced to lie. Okay. His demeanor totally changed. Like they told him, this is what you're going to say, and if you don't, you too might end up dead. Okay. So anyway, that was kind of neat. We'll talk about that too tonight. Hopefully we'll be able to get to all this. But so during the press conferences, he was always flanked by government law officials, either the FBI or the ATF, or you name your government official. But and he always was kind of looking over at him like, yeah, they're here and they want me to be quiet, so I can't tell you guys the truth. Anyway, he must have made some kind of sweetheart deal, because believe it or not, he is now the governor of Nevada. And yeah, go figure, huh? Okay. So as you'll see, and hopefully you'll see, this thing was orchestrated by the deep state, no doubt about it. Okay, so there's our intro. Okay, now you know what we're going to be talking about, and probably a little more in depth than you figured I would tell you. But hey, by the way, let's go through the list here. Tonight we're live on YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Trovo, BitChute, Telegram, Facebook, Twitch, and I think that's it. Oh, and also on the radio here, 107.5, which many of you, or most of you, none of you can hear because you're not in this area. So, okay, where do we start, folks? Where do we go from here? All right, so, pardon me while I get my act together. It's not an easy thing to do, Okay, let's see. Let me see if this is where I want to be. No, that is not where I want to be. As a matter of fact, we can get rid of that. There we go. I made a really nice little outline and everything to. Don't do that. Okay. Is this it? Hopefully. Yes, it is. Okay. I'm gonna, while I read along, I'm going to go ahead and let you read along with me. Okay. I don't always do this because it's easier. Sometimes I make mistakes, and if you can't read what I'm reading, you don't know. But let's see. Window capture. Oh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Okay, this whole Las Vegas shooting thing it stinks to high heaven. And this was written back in 2017, okay? And I have not amended it in any way yet. But it will be, because there's just too many questions that weren't answered. Okay, we're going to look at hopefully a video, or we will read an article that talks about that. Okay, so let me get this thing up in front of me here, and so that I can read it. And I like to get it up nice and high so that it fills your whole page there. Okay, and I am going to make it just a little larger. Okay, what does that do to you guys? Does it mess it up? Yeah, a little bit, huh? It's okay, we can fix messes. Maybe not. Hold on a sec. I want this to be the ultimate primo thing for you to watch. Okay, let's see. Let's go out here. Oh, man. I might have to make it smaller again. Yeah, maybe, folks. Yeah, let's just make it a little smaller. And that way you can read it too. So let's see, we got that. That fits it all in. How's that, huh? Okay. Matter of fact, you're What you're looking at is bigger than what I'm looking at. I'm kind of jealous. All right. So, and I'll advise you ahead of time that I still have that thing going on with my eye. Um, oh yeah, before we get started, let me thank all of you folks who've prayed for my health. Um, I got good news and I got bad news. Good news is that when they went up to take the kidney stones out, they found a bunch of tumors inside my kidney. I mean, all the way inside of it. And he lasered a lot of them out of there and took some samples and sent them away. And it turns out that they're not malignant, which is good. And but they have the propensity to want to do that later on. So, well, I was told today that by the doctor, the surgeon, that one of two things will happen, and probably in this order too. One will be to put a tube in my back and put some chemo in there, which I'm not too worried about because he's not really filling my whole system up with it, just the kidney. And if that doesn't work, or if it looks like it's not going to last, they'll just take the kidney. But I want to save it at all costs. So anyway, there's an update, and it gives you something else to pray about, okay? So, and I told you, maybe you, sorry, but if you watch on YouTube, you heard I did a short there about Thanksgiving and how Yahweh had blessed me, and that every time it seems like something like this comes up, that he's there to kind of catch it, or to heal me, or to find a way to make it better, you know. And that's what I'm thankful for. He's a God that he's a Yahweh Yireh, my provider. So, okay, let's get on with this. The whole Las Vegas shooting thing stinks to high heaven. Okay, and I told you about the images. First off, right off the start, I'd like to say that my heart goes out to those who are injured, and it goes out to the family of those who were murdered this past week in Las Vegas at a country music festival. I will not use the word killed because it does not describe what happened on Sunday. The people who died at the festival and outside the festival were cut down in a cold-blooded massacre. That's terrible. It really is. I can't imagine what you're going through or have gone through for the last 8 years. And hopefully you've recovered a lot and got over most of it, if you're a survivor or if you're a family member. I was driving home on Sunday when that was 2017. And when I was very tired when I arrived home, and my wife and I went right to bed. We woke up to find out what happened in Nevada. I had a bad feeling about it right away, and I immediately made a comment to my wife that this was probably an ISIS-inspired, or it was an Antifa in nature. Since I was off on Monday, I began to. Wow, that's a long time ago. I began to scour the internet for clues of who might be behind this heinous act. What I found was conjecture piled upon innuendo in regards to what the mainstream press was offering to inquiring minds. The first thing that I noticed was that was what sounded like it came from the Mandalay-Bay hotel the night before, indicated that there were at least two weapons. Boy, was I underscoring, that were being fired at the crowd. There were two weapons at a time. And we're going to look into all that stuff. It was crazy. So you don't think that I'm a novice speaking in speculation. Let me give you a bit of my own gun history. I received my first gun when I was 6 years old. My dad brought me a rifle and a pistol. Both guns shot .22 caliber bullets. The pistol shot the .22 shorts, and the Marlin rifle shot .22 long rifles. So I've been handling guns since at least that age. The rifle shot is what is called a long rifle. I just said that, okay? And the pistol shot .22 shorts. I got a bad habit, folks, of going into stuff before I read it, so you'll forgive me, I'm sure. Now, my dad loved to shoot. He served in the Army during the Korean War and was injured when a deuce that he was riding in the back of put him and his comrades, they hit a mine, okay? The truck hit a mine. And he was always affected by that psychologically. Now, I was probably in my mid-20s when Dad brought his. Wait a minute. I was probably in my mid-20s when Dad bought his first gun, a single action, that's right, 44 caliber pistol. I think it was a Ruger Blackhawk, if I'm not mistaken. The thing had a hair trigger, and it was a nightmare to shoot. Oh, it was terrible. Well, you just didn't even put your finger around that trigger until you were ready to shoot. Because I had to go off into the ground several times and this stuff, and it was not good. I'd gotten the gun fever from my dad, and during my lifetime, I owned rifles and pistols of just about every caliber, and I've even loaded my own ammunition, but not for a few years now. I kind of got away from it because of the cost and everything. It used to be real cheap to load your own ammunition, but now by the time you buy everything you need, it's sometimes cheaper to buy the stuff that's already loaded. I can tell you many things about guns, but one thing I can surely attest to is that different calibers sound different when they're fired. For instance, a 22 short sounds like the caps we used to play with when we were kids. You bang them against a rock against them, or put them in one of the guns that was supposed to shoot them, and a little hammer would come down and hit them and make a popping noise. Perhaps it was a bit louder than that, but it always reminded me of that. Let's see. Shooting a 22 long rifle, has the same sound, only louder. As you move up the caliber chain, the tone of the gunshot sounds deeper in tone. For instance, the sound of a 223 grain, which is militarily it's a 5.56 by 40 something. I can't remember. I think you want to say 51, but it's 40 something millimeters. And let's see. Okay, and it sounds like a very loud 22 long rifle, but a 7mm Magnum. Oh, that gun was amazing. The round sounds like you're blown off a cherry bomb just a few feet in front of you. I remember shooting that rifle at a gun range one time, and one of the fellows next to me asked me what I was shooting, and he was surprised because he said that when every time I fired it, the shot made the corrugated roofing on the bench, above the bench, hum. Yeah, it was neat because I heard it too, because I had him fire it so I could hear the hum. Firing an M14 or an AK-47 sounds much deeper in tone, but there are still differences. When an AK shoots a 7.62 by 39 round, it shoots a lot slower than an M16, and it fires off rounds a bit slower than the M14. When I was younger, I had the pleasure of owning a Marlin lever action rifle that shot 45-70 government. I don't know if it was a pleasure. I remember all the bruises I got from it. It shot that round. When the gun was fired, it was like a cannon going off in my hands. It really was. I was amused. One day, I had a friend of mine who was with me. He came to the firing range with me, and he was built like a stick figure. He's one of those guys that, he when he got to be an adult, he reached one weight and he stayed it his whole life. Okay, and the kind of person that really gets you mad because they're like that way. When people like me, all I got to do is look at a donut and I gain weight. It seems like. Okay. So he wanted to fire the 45-70, and when he finally squeezed it off the round, he just stood there like he was petrified. And I figured I better intervene here. So when he turned around, his hat was sideways on his head, and his glasses were at a 90-degree angle to his face. The shock had just almost blown everything off of his face. It was kind of hilarious. Let's see. He handed the gun back to me and complained about a deep, dark bruise on his chest for a couple of months after that. Yeah, it stayed around for a couple of months, believe it or not. What is being presented by the press and the government in regard to the shooting in Las Vegas just 2 days ago is plain stupid. If you listen to the shots that are being fired, you can hear two different tones to the guns being fired. And I believe I can pick out three, actually. The deeper sound came from either an AK-47 or some sort of .30 caliber weapon. The snap of a .223 round can be heard too. It's like a pop snap. It's a lot smaller sounding compared to a 30 caliber or higher. But the kicker is that it very easy to hear both sounds at the same time. There are some jokers online that were promoting the idea that one sound was an echo of the other. The echo coming from the building or another nearby building. I don't know about you, but every echo I ever heard sounds just like the original sound. In other words, you wouldn't fire off the M80, which is a very large entertainment explosive, in a canyon and hear the echo sound like a firecracker. That pretty well dismisses the echo theory. No, there were at least two guns firing at once. Probably more, and they all had different reports to them. You can listen to the gunshots by clicking below. Matter of fact, why don't we do that? Okay. So you're going to hear a snap, like a snap pop. That's the 223, and then you're going to hear a deeper tone, and then an even deeper tone. So let's listen to this, and then we'll come back to this, okay? And bear with me, because we're going to have to come back and scroll all the way back down again. So here we go. Hopefully.
It's on the outside, I promise. It's on the outside, honey.
Round two. That's kind of freaky, huh? You can imagine how scary that was out there. I've been in situations where I've been shot at before, and it's never a fun shot, a fun sound, and yeah, it's and remember, you probably heard it. There was like 3 different reports coming out of there, right? That was the snapping, right? Now, don't confuse that with the sound of the ricochet when it hit the ground, but the 223 or the 5.56 NATO round, it sounded like a snap, a pop and a snap. Okay, then you went a little deeper, and that was definitely a 30 caliber rifle. Whether it was a Russian AK or if it was an American or a NATO rifle that shot 7.62 by 51s, or otherwise known as 308s, it's hard to tell. But and then the other one, I don't know. I don't know if there was anything, if there's a bullet that's a higher caliber that could be in a machine gun sort of scenario. So anyway, if you've heard the sound you just did, there are at least 2 reports from rifles, one pretty deep tone and one lighter tone. The deeper tone is at least 30 caliber round. Almost sounded like an M60 machine gun. Believe it or not, you're going to hear that in a minute. Yeah, it is most probable an AK-47, or is commonly known as the M10, which shoots 308 caliber rounds. The AK-47 shoots 7.62 by 39 caliber rounds. It's a Russian designation. I've had one of those rifles before, and they're very, very fun to shoot, actually. And you know, when you shoot a gun, the barrel kicks up. That's called recoil. And when you shoot an AK, it doesn't kick up. The gun more or less pushes into your shoulder, which makes it a lot more accurate. I found anyway. So we have some clarity in this matter in regard to the report made about different calibers. So I'm going to present the sound of files of different calibers as they were fired. Let's first listen to an M60 machine gun. This is going to be the lower Okay, not the pop click, but oh, that's a weird. That phrase is not a good phrase. Anyway, let's go listen to this, and then we'll listen to an AK-47, and then we'll listen to an M16 being fired in full auto. Okay, so here we go. Here's the M60 machine gun firing 308 or 7.62 by 51s.
Miss.
Do not shoot the metal. That's what I was making sure of.
Okay. So you heard that, right? It was a deeper tone than the 223 or 5.56. All right, so let's listen to an AK-47 being fired in full auto. Okay, here we go.
Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a 100-round mag dump with a Chinese AK drum and a full auto Romanian AK.
There we go. Look at the barrel smoking. That barrel, you won't be able to touch it for about 20
Alright guys, well, as
minutes.
you can see, the drum ran flawless. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you here next time.
All right, let's get rid of that. And scroll all the way back down. Okay, and then finally we're going to come to the M16, and you're going to hear how it's more of a pop. It's going to kind of sound the same as what you just heard, the two you just heard, but definitely it's going to be a higher pitch. I know a lot of people don't have the ability to differentiate between these three, and but I do, and I just hope that if you don't, you'll trust what I'm saying. Okay. Okay. Here we go. The M16.
M16, full auto. Start out with a couple single shots and then run full auto.
There you go. Definitely a difference there, and you can definitely hear them different ones going off in the from the Mandalay-Bay hotel casino back in 2017. All right, now I might suggest that you go back to the first sound file and listen to it again, which you will not do. When you do, you'll hear a lower tone like one of the first three examples, and you'll hear the lighter crack of the M16 round. I heard it, and I trust you did too. Okay, by the way, I got the chat open in Rumble if anybody wants to comment about anything, okay? Maybe I can find some other gun enthusiasts out there and we can kind of hook up. That would be neat. All right. So some Einstein online, and perhaps a shooter, said that perhaps the shooter was holding two rifles at the same time. That is the most ignorant and arrogant, stupid, idiot thing I've ever heard. Okay. There are problems with this idea. Let's go into it. First, there would be a balance problem. Guns shoot higher calibers are heavier. Excuse me. Guns that shoot higher calibers, like the 308, are heavier because there's much more pressure involved, and plus they make them heavier to ward against the recoil. A lot less recoil if you make a gun heavier. Okay, let's see. Because more pressure is involved. Okay, Therefore, there has to be a heavier receiver, and that's the part where the gun goes from the clip into the gun itself, because there's much more pressure involved. Of course, you need a thicker barrel too. Now, if you can imagine fending off an attacker, your one hand swinging a baseball bat and the other hand swinging let's just say a light bowling ball, you can understand it's not going to work very well. Second, there's a problem of recoil. Recoil occurs because the pressure of the bullet weight being pushed through the barrel by the gases from the ignition. The bigger the caliber, the stronger the recoil. Right? It only makes sense because it's a bigger shell with more powder in it. Let's see. If the shooter was shooting a 223 out of a barrel, the bigger caliber, the stronger the recoil. Okay, I would know that already. If he was shooting a 223 weapon and a 30 caliber weapon at the same time, he would have a hell of a time trying to hit anything. The stronger recoil of the 30 caliber weapon would cause him to compensate stronger with that arm, and he would probably overcorrect with the other arm, bringing a 30 caliber gun down, causing his other arm to do the same thing. One can imagine what it would be like watering your lawn with a regular garden hose in one hand and a fire hose in the other hand. It probably could be done, but you wouldn't be doing a very good job, nor would it be fun. Third, from the clips that were shown in the pictures that we looked at, it appears that they're using common everyday 30 round clips, except for the one rifle that had 100 rounds. The 223 caliber weapon would empty its magazine way before the 30 caliber weapon. Let's see. By the sound of the shooting, that didn't happen. The shooting of both calibers seems to stop at the same time and start up at the same time. This would indicate that two shooters were involved. In addition, it would if you look at the pictures, you see 223 clips laying on the room, and we're going to see that picture in a few minutes. On the room where the dead shooter lies, but no 30 round clips. This is probably because the second shooter was firing a 30 round weapon from the other room, and if it was just one guy, then why did he break out the other window? From what I've seen, it looks like both windows had the same clear shot. I think that one reason why it was that way is if you look at the diagrams of the rooms, the caliber dictated the need. And so here's a picture of what that suite looks like. It's cut off a little bit on the top, but we don't really need that part anyway, because you can see where the two broken windows were. One on the left-hand side over here, and the other one kind of around a 45-degree turn there at the end of that turn, and before another 45-degree turn. So they're expecting you to believe and me to believe that one shooter is shooting from both windows, and you got to figure how far is it from window 1 to window 2, and you got a door in between you too. So you got to shoot from. Let's look at this one. It says the broken window is the one over on the left. You got to shoot from this one, right? Then you got to run out of the room, run down the hallway into the suite, and then pick up a gun. Hopefully you have them loaded already. But if not, you got to put the clips in and load them. Takes a significant amount of time to do that. It really does. And the guy wasn't a spring chicken either, so it's not like he was an athletic kind of person that could have done it and not break out into a sweat. But but the thing is that the two shots that you hear, at least two, they start and they stop at the same time, indicating that there's one guy doing those two guns, and there's another volley or two that you hear, and it sounds like two kind of the same guns, but not quite. I can't really put that into words, but I think you know what I'm talking about. So, the picture that we're looking at is the basic room layout of that part of the hotel and that part of that particular suite. Actually, the concert was in the direction of the arrow. You see it right outside the bottom there, and it's pointing in the direction of the writing on the page. From the pictures that are available, it appears that the Paddock's body was found by the broken window at the right side of the diagram. This would have been a good spot for someone with a .30 caliber machine gun to situate himself, because he could brace against the wall, which would have been to his left. More recoil from the high caliber weapon would have dictated bracing for accuracy. A .223 caliber weapon would have been sufficient for the broken window on the left, because at 1,100 yards, the shooter would have just been spraying the concert grounds. A gun that shoots a .30 caliber round can be quite accurate, even on automatic, especially if it's on a tripod being used. And several of the guns appear to have tripods attached. Some of them have like two, like a bipod, and one of them I believe had a monopod too on it. The one-footed brace. Okay. Where was that here? Let's see. Personally, I believe that Paddock shot from the same suite, from the suite, and the other shooter shot from the hotel room itself. I find the fact that there was supposed to be a security guard standing by the elevator when the gunshot wounded his leg, I find that suspicious. I am of the opinion that Paddock was being set up as a patsy and that he was eliminated by the security guard, who was shot by Paddock in the struggle. In a police radio that I'll present in a moment, the police came upon the security guard by the elevator, which had been shut down by the police before they went up the stairs. Going down the staircase with a leg wound like that would have been impossible, making Paddock's accomplice unable to escape down the elevator. If you look at the picture of the door of the door that the police blew off in order to gain access to the room, it has two bullet holes in it. From what it looks like, the holes, and assuming that Paddock used full metal jackets, the bullets seem to have made the holes from the inside of the room. In other words, shooting into the outside. At one point, he must have suspected that someone was at the door. Let's see. It is also reported that Paddock had wired up cameras in the door peephole, and one report says that he put one of the empty room service carts in the hallway. He was dead when the police arrived, of course, and so who was he shooting at? Maybe the people who came to kill him so that he couldn't be taken alive. All right. Okay, so that brings us... All right, now we're coming to this picture. I told you when we're going to come to it, I'm going to let you know. A very gory and gross picture, okay? Lots of blood, and it's just not a good picture to look at, okay? If you're prone to nightmares or you dream about things that you've seen, don't watch this, okay? Just turn your head for a few minutes. And listen, you don't have to look, okay? All right. Let's see. So you can be taking, okay, so that brings us to another aspect of the death of the shooter, or should I say, this shooter. There are quite a few videos online that show that there is a shooter at or around the 12th or 13th floor in a more central location. The muzzle blast can be clearly seen, and they match up with the sounds of gunfire. So let's look at the picture of the deceased shooter and see if we can find any inconsistencies. You ready? Okay, remember, if you're squeamish, don't look. All right, so there he is. You can tell that he had a gunshot wound to the mouth. His eyes are open and fixed. And he doesn't look too good, does he? He's lost a lot of blood right there. He may have hit an artery. maybe the carotid artery. A fragment went over and hit it. And who knows what kind of bullet he used to. Actually, the autopsy showed, but who has the ability to look at that? Not you and I. So yeah, I know it's a gruesome picture, but life itself is gruesome anyway, right? Notice the position of the man's body. He is laid out like a corpse is laid out, in his arms, with his arms at his side and his head straight up. Notice also that the gun is some feet away from him. Let's look at another picture before I continue my critique. So here's another picture. This one isn't gross, folks. Not that bad anyway. If you look at it, he's laid out in a way that you wouldn't figure. I don't want to preempt myself from what I'm going to read here, so let me just read. Again, we need to look at the man's body, how it is laying on the floor. If you didn't know that he was dead, you'd think that he was sleeping on the floor, taking a rest perhaps. But now let's look at human anatomy. Okay, there's a kind of breakdown, a sectional of what the human anatomy looks like. If you were to cut a person directly in half, longitudinally. So look at the left image. If you look to the left of their left image, you see the mouth. I'm assuming that the pistol was used to create the wound that killed him. The bullet hole would pass through the mouth cavity and would sever the spinal column, severing the spinal cord, and before it made an exit, it would hit the floor, as is the case as it appears. It would have fragmented, destroying the cerebral, I can never say this word, cerebellum. Why is that important? Well, this is important because the minute that the spinal cord is severed in that area, everything below it stops working. This means all muscles, nerves, and yes, probably all the organs except for the heart. He probably bled out, since he would have lost all motor functions below the wound. He would have fallen like a sack of potatoes, actually, not lying in a prone position, just like he fell asleep. So when he lost his motor functions below the wound, he lost the functions in both arms and hands. So how did the gun end up a few feet above his head? And the real perplexing thing is, how did he end up with his leg under the gun that's sitting there so undisturbed on his tripod? The execution is worse than This execution is worse than Vince Foster. When they put a gun in his right hand, although he was left-handed, but this is Stephen Pollock's. But was Stephen Pollock left-handed? We have to ask, right? Okay. So here's a picture of Stephen at a protest, it looks like. And it was for something women's, I can't remember. Well, I'm proud to say here. Look at the picture of someone that looks like Stephen Pollock, and many believe that is him. There has been a question as to whether this is Stephen Pollock. Well, someone did an ear comparison of the man and with Pollock, and they matched the nose matches too. So also someone did an investigation of the woman walking up to Paddock and saying, "Hi, Steve." Now notice that the hand that is holding the sign. Let's look at that. Many people would think that because he's holding the sign with his left hand, that he is left-handed. In other frames, he's holding it in his right hand. Also note that his watch is on his left wrist. Most right-handed people wear their watches on their left wrist. That's really the only way to wear it. Wearing it on the same wrist as you're handed is not easy, and it's not a wise thing to do. So, pardon me while I get another swig here. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we have to look refer back to the picture where the lower half of Paddock's body is shown. You know, the one where he looks like he's sleeping. What can you see? What we can see of his right arm is that it is laying to his side like his left arm is. The gun, however, is 2 feet above his head. Add to that the factor that Paddock was wearing gloves further complicates things for the suicide theory. I have worn gloves when shooting before, and it makes it a bit difficult because the gloves added to the thickness of your fingers make it more difficult, or should I say a tighter fit in the trigger shield. If Paddock had shot himself...
That. Could you try again?
Oh, boy. Hold on, folks. I've got ChatGPT doing something. And it shouldn't be. Anyway, it seems to be quiet now. Okay. Let's see. Now I totally lost where I was. Okay, more of his... Okay. Right hand. Okay. I should say tighter fit than the bigger shield. If Paddock had shot himself with his right hand and he lost all motor skills, it is more believable that the gun would have remained at his hand because of the gloves, and Paddock's arm would not be flush at his side. Excuse me. Now, all this is assuming that he still had some motor ability in his muscles, which we determined before would probably be impossible. If he had shot himself lying down, the gun would have flown out of his hand somewhere to the right of his body, not above his head. In addition, the photo where you can see Paddock's torso, there appears to be dried blood on his shirt about the area of his stomach, yet there is no blood from the trail of his mouth to his stomach, which anyone would assume that there should be if he is in a convulsive, if he is in convulsion and he spit blood before he died. Could the blood have come from the guy with the leg wound who used the leg to hold Paddock down while he shot him in the mouth? See, it's interesting, folks, how you can get these things if you just sit and think about it. If you can put yourself there as one or the other of the parties, and figure out what would you do, you know? And I don't know. I find it maybe I picked the wrong line of work, and I should have been a detective or something, or in the police lab or something. Anyway, hopefully the police will type the blood on his shirt, see if it belongs to someone else. But as the story continues, things are starting to disappear. First, let me assert that I'm no Alex Jones fan. I think that the guy gets intel from his wind-up pitch and leaves very little to be desired. In either case, someone had tipped off the InfoWars that any mention of Paddock's having stayed at the hotel in the past had been deleted. His girlfriend deleted her Facebook account at the behest of a friend, and one can only wonder if there were things that would have implicated her, or would have shed light into what had been going on with Paddock. I think that she's going to find out that things aren't as deleted as easy as if the dark government does get to it first. We will find out more. If they don't get to it, we'll find out more. Okay. Speaking of the cleanup going on, this is a precise reason why I'm not linking to YouTube's videos as much as and such, even though they show quite clearly that there were shooters on other floors of the hotel. Some things slowly but surely disappeared from the internet. I had the presence of mind to download the audio of the Las Vegas Police Dispatch audio before it disappears from the internet. I will be airing then a special edition of the radio show. Opposing the Matrix is the radio show, by the way. If you don't hear it live, and if you don't hear it live, you can find it by clicking on the radio show archive link at the top of our webpage, which is not there anymore, folks. Sorry. Which you can access by clicking here. The police dispatch has a lot of interesting data. The dispatch audio has a lot of interesting data. If you hear the police talk about things like the shooter at Gate 7 and other live shooters on the ground, another thing that I found interesting is that there were a couple of police groups that are stationed themselves on the second floor of the hotel, like they were looking for shooters there. It's too bad that they didn't go up another, or go up to the 12th floor, or maybe they did. And let's see. I say that because someone had called into InfoWars to say that they had been listening to the police scanner, probably a tactical scanner, and according to what this man said, he heard that there was one shooter dead. I'm assuming that was Paddock. Okay. 2 were injured and then 2 were on the loose. Interesting, huh? This would sort of corroborate what was said on the radio, or excuse me, on the police dispatch, that one time a man in fatigues was seen leaving with a gun bag from the scene. When he was followed by the RV that was parked down by the Motel 6, that's where he stayed, down the street from the crime scene. Another report came over to the dispatch about a Ford or Chevy dually truck that was seen speeding from the parking lot garage with 2 men inside. The officers were told to be on the lookout for such a vehicle. Okay, let's see. Again, I have to stress that the police often go to technical channels when such things happen. So what the caller heard was probably events that only a few privileged people with special scanners can hear. Okay, so folks, what's going on now is they're talking about other people that might have been involved, and I want to see how far down we are, because I have a lot more to do here to read. Okay, what I'm gonna do, folks, for the sake of brevity, because we've been reading for 54 minutes already, and there's a lot more to do. Just to explain a few things, there was an idea, or some reports had come in that what's that, folks? Yeah, some folks had reported that there was actually live shooters on the ground at the event. One lady who I listened to, was it yesterday or the day before, said that it almost seemed like these people, these live shooters, were following groups of people to kind of off them. For what reason, I have no idea. But yeah, the one really stressed that she was afraid for her life, as they kept, every time they made a right turn or a left turn to go somewhere, they'd run a little farther and they would hear the gunshots still pretty close to them. So I have no doubt that this wasn't just a lone shooter thing, that there were other people in the crowd, and but we had to try to figure out why all this would happen, But when you're talking about the U.S. government, or I should say the deep state, and what they are capable of, and what they're incapable of doing, which is actually care for people, love people. Let's see. As dispatch made audio contained, a dispatcher told of shots being fired at the Luxor Hotel, the MGM Grand, and the Tropicana. According to reports that came back from police officers, there were shooters at the location. So either the officials are hiding things from us, or there were calls that came in because of the confusion, so the other shooters could get away. Right? Now, since a week ago from last Sunday, things have taken different turns in regards to the shooting. First, about 26 hours after about, excuse me, first about 26 hours, a man, Scott Edmonston, was pulled over in Tennessee with a cache of weapons in his vehicle. Authorities dismissed that he could have been involved at the Las Vegas massacre, stating that he was apprehended about 32 hours after the Las Vegas event. Okay, and that he couldn't have made it to Tennessee in that short a time. However, Google Maps shows that the trip could have been made in 26 hours. Really, folks, I think that you and me, a lot of you out there and me, should have become detectives. I think that we probably make better detectives than a lot of stuff that's out there. Let me take another swig, folks. Okay. Okay. So they showed a picture. I think you saw it, right? Here it is. He's on the left-hand side. It's a mug shot. And there's some of the weapons that he had in his car. Man, there's some nice-looking weapons there. They probably went out at auction after a while. That would be so nice. That was the man above, the man that was seen walking away from the hotel with a large black bag. You know, the one that got into the RV. Or was he the man that was seen speeding away in the black dually pickup truck? His actions are that of someone who was apprehended but was not supposed to be caught. You know, maybe we'll never know, of course. Okay, here's where things really start getting dicey. In addition, there were several reports that there were active shooters on the concert itself, on the grounds. Interesting too is the fact that the wounded man standing at the elevator with the gunshot wound in his leg was also wearing security garb, kind of like the vest that you see on the picture below here. The man was allegedly shooting at the concert grounds, also wearing security garb. Notice that he clearly has a rifle in his hands, and he's on the grounds at what looks like the music venue. I don't know if a kid sinks to high heaven, I'm telling you. Something came in onto the internet that's very interesting. The blurb that came onto the internet is that Stephen Pollock was actually a CIA gun runner that had ties with the Obama administration. Here's the body of the article, minus the pictures. Okay, Russia identifies Las Vegas shooter as CIA arms pilot as Israel probes stolen weapons fight to Nevada. And let's see. A lot of this stuff I think I'm going to go ahead and not go into, folks. I'm going to publish this on the Patreon site here in a couple of days, and you can get on here and get it there, okay? Let's see. Okay. Anyway, yeah, see, it keeps going on and on and on. Like the article that never ended, you know. Okay, now let's go to something else here. I think that you're going to find quite interesting. I noticed that over time, you know, as the days went on and on, that Joe Lombardo, who happened to be the sheriff there in Las Vegas, in that surrounding area, in that county, he went from a not jubilant, but a feeling of like he could solve anything in the entire universe, and his confidence level was really high and everything else. And a couple days later, he got back out there and he was acting like he'd been talked to. That's all I can say. Like somebody walked up to him and said, "You know, you're looking at a lot of wrong things that you shouldn't look at. There are people that will get very upset if you find the things that you're looking for. And if I were you, I would just cease and desist and And if you're a good boy, maybe one day you could run for governor of Nevada. And and lo and behold, he's the governor of Nevada. And so, anyway, let's see. I'm sorry, I had to finish off that drink. Okay, I was a young boy when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and I was relatively young when Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King were assassinated. But I remember all of them. Okay, through the years, we've seen other assassinations, or should I call them by what they're termed now, suspicious deaths. If you do a simple Google search on the Clinton body count, you're going to find stories about hundreds of people who have been associated with Bill and Hillary Clinton and who disappeared or lost their brakes while driving, were mysteriously murdered, or who suicided themselves. Let's see. Now they're calling it being Hillaried, by the way. Working for Clinton has always been a dangerous job because if you cross them in any way, or happen to hear something that you should not have heard, your chances of dying increase dramatically. And the same goes with when working for Obama or working against him. On last week's show, radio show, I talked about things that people are starting to disappear, and to watch this thing increase as time marches forth, all in regard to the Las Vegas, I call it a sacrificial execution. That's what I think it was. There's just there's the occult signature here somewhere, like Wiccans or something else, higher satanic orders maybe that have gained what is, lack of better words, kudos in the satanic realm. Because they have murdered so many people. And the shedding of blood is one way that Satanists celebrate their religion and how they move up in their orders. Okay, let's see. Okay. I know that sounds like a strong term when I call it a super sacrificial executions. But let's face the facts. The government was infiltrated over the past 20 years or so by a very satanic element. Many people still refuse to acknowledge the fact that Satanism actually exists, or that Wiccans are in combination with Satanism. Yeah, and are very a present danger in our society. Some people like myself are aware of these things, but today, we're aware of these things today, but fortunately, for some people, they will not believe it until they are the victims, or they're set before satanic tribunals and told that they need to accept Luciferian initiation, or they will be killed. And that's seen in the Book of Revelation. Okay. Well, in the meantime, people have begun to disappear, or they've ended up dead, or they look like they fear for their lives. And to tell the truth, one woman in particular was named Kimberly Schuckelmel. She attended a concert event and survived the event, only to lose her life a few days later after she swore to everyone that there were shooters on the ground and everywhere. Here's her testimony as recorded by InfoWars News. Okay. Las Vegas survivor abruptly dies days after posting eyewitness account of second shooter. Died of natural causes 5 days after posting her story. Natural causes, I think at 27 years old, I think she was. Let's see. This is this is written by Shepard Abellis, SHTF plan, October 14, 2017. Okay, in Telehub, a woman by the name of Kimberly Schuckelmel, 28, okay, she was 28, who attended the October 1st Route 91 Harvest Music Festival, passed away Monday at her Apple Valley home, just days after she had survived the deadliest shooting in modern U.S. history. Unscathed, according to the multiple multi-stream media reports. Let's see. Shokamel, who posted her eyewitness account of the Las Vegas Massacre in astonishingly vivid detail on her Facebook page October 4th, subsequently passed away in her home on October 9th for what the reports are claiming were natural causes. Jeez. It's not natural to die at age 27, folks. What a bunch of crap. I'm sorry. Forgive my language, but it is a bunch of crap. Let's see. Let's see. News history. Okay. Chukamel had posted her eyewitness account of the Las Vegas Massacre. Oh, I read that already. Okay, let's go to the next paragraph. Shockingly, just days before her death, Chukamel posted details about the shooting to Facebook that contradicted the official narrative, which claims that Stephen Paddock was the lone gunman. This is like the Kennedy assassination all over again. For about 50 feet in front of us and a little to the right, firecrackers were set off. Let me repeat that. Firecrackers were set off. I verbally stated, she said that some asshole just shot off firecrackers in close proximity to many people. I was literally pissed off. You could see Jason Aldean looking to his left, kind of startled, but he was just, he was clearly irritated. I would say about 15 seconds later, the first volley of gunfire was released, and the eyewitness wrote, okay, she went on. This is spooky, folks. Some of the stuff that she says is, it suggests, more than suggests, it basically cements the fact that this is a conspiracy. Okay, it was a shorter volley than the others, and the gunfire was not as close, were not as close together either. Let's see. Okay, everyone looked up and down and around. We thought it was more firecrackers at first, but then Ricky reached over, told us to put on our boots on quickly, and the volley ended. Then people started to panic. The gentleman behind me looked at me as I was putting on my boots, half lying down, and said, calm down, crazy, it's just fireworks. Jeez. That's when the second volley went off. Ricky yelled at us to get down flat, and we immediately knew there was someone shooting at us. I remember getting down, but I didn't lay flat for some reason, thinking, oh my gosh, I need to get flatter than I am, but my body just wouldn't let me. That was the second volley. At the end of that volley, I am still struggling to get my boots on. We turned and tried to run, but the people behind us still weren't moving. I yelled out at the lady, run, it's gunfire, run. The third volley, let's see. The third volley of gunfire hits AstroTurf. According to Chukamel, the shooting was close. When the third volley hit, it was very close to us. I could physically see the impact of the bullets on this AstroTurf. I could feel the warmth of it, the warmth and the passing of bullets. Once the third volley was over, Casey linked her arm into mine, and we decided to that moment we weren't stopping. We were getting the hell out of there, and I do mean hell. It was a literal hell, she claimed. The gentleman that mocked me, stating that it was fireworks, fell to the ground, and he never got back up. The lady behind me, who is in front of me now, who was terrified as I told her to run, never got back up. I actually had to physically step over her body to run, something I'm still struggling with, so please don't attack me. I was absolutely in fight mode. There was another person to my right who was also wasn't moving. We ran to the Where was I now? Okay, there's another person that to my right who wasn't moving. We ran, and I don't know what direction we ran. I don't know toward which landmark we ran. We just ran. It was at this time our group got split up. Cassie and I were together. Ricky, Cassie, and Wendy were together. Okay. We were rounding some corner, and and I looked to the right, and I saw this large cowboy sitting with his legs spread, holding a blood-soaked woman. I thought to myself, we need to hide, but as I looked quickly for somewhere to go, the gunfire once again got closer and closer. We couldn't hide because they, and I do mean they, were chasing us. The exact moment is when I started to realize in panic. This is the exact moment which I thought, this is it. I'm going to die. I was never going to see the woman over. I was never going to see my family again. So we were running. We approached the fence where men were throwing women over, and we ran up to it, and they quickly knocked it down. It's down, so we were able to get out. And hearing the victims' families in my head about how they never got to say goodbye. I did not want this for my husband, who was at work, or my grandma, who had my daughter, Scarlett. So at the 10:07, I called my husband, frantically leaving him a voicemail telling him I loved him and that this was the middle of the shooting, and I wasn't sure if I would make it out alive, she explained. Next, while still running, I called my grandma to tell her exactly the exact same thing. But the gunfire wasn't stopping this whole time. It wasn't ceasing, and I wasn't slowing down, and the bullets were coming from every direction, behind us, in front of us, and to the side of us. Folks, this proves right here that there are multiple shooters at that thing. And she paid by telling us she paid with her life. I hope she was a believer and she's in heaven. That would be awesome. Okay, but I just know that there was someone chasing us the entire time I felt this way. She explained the farther we got down from the venue, the closer the gunfire got. I kept looking back and expecting to see the gunman, and I say men because there was more than one person. There was more than one gun firing, 100% more than one. As we were running, we kept changing directions because I felt like no matter what direction we took, we were being followed. So we ended up running to the weird triangular path. The first thing I placed there, I remember getting there, it was to the parking lot. I told Cassie, who was slightly in front of me, we need to get under one of the trucks. So she turned to me and started her way back to me, and that's when the gunfire got even closer than ever. Okay, this goes on and on, folks. But it talks about how she, she tried different places. She tried going to Hooters, but they didn't really welcome her there. She tried the Better Business Bureau, and then got chastised by some Hispanic woman. Oh, here. Okay, folks. Sorry, I had to take a break there for a second. According to the October 9th, confirming Socomel's death, Socomel was taking medications for a pituitary tumor and feared to fall asleep at night after being heavily traumatized by October 1st massacre. Socomel's death may also be the reason that Mandalay-Bay security guard Jesus Campos is receiving 24/7 high-profile security protection. Note, the actual Facebook post made by Socomel was removed after the original article began to go viral. Interesting. Let's see, we'll skip down here. There's a link here to go to InfoWars to look up about Kimberly and her death. Whether Kimberly died of natural causes or if she was taken out by the elites, we'll probably never know. Before we walk down that narrow street, we have to take into account that Kimberly did have some health problems. She did suffer from epilepsy, and it was reported by a friend that Kimberly did have at least 3 focal seizures after the shooting event. This type of seizure can often be brought on by someone that has brain tumor, which Kimberly did have. She was taking medications for the tumor of the pituitary gland. Many times these seizures can be brought on by stress, which Kimberly did have, I guess, following the massacre. For the record, a focal seizure is a partial seizure, or excuse me, a parietal seizure, meaning that it usually affects one side of the parietal lobes of the brain and not the whole brain. This means that some cognitive and body function of the brain are affected while others are not affected. Some, let's see, not affected. Okay. Focal seizures can be mild or complicated. Focal seizures have been known to ignite status epilepticus, which are prolonged seizures, which can cause something sudden, unexpected death in epilepsy, and it's got the acronym SUDEP. Okay, so I don't want to go into that. Okay. Alright, flip-sided coin is not uncommon for elites to send out hit squads to capitalize on a person's physical or psychological health. I know of 2 women who are active in fighting the elites who are affected in this manner. One woman, a woman from Scotland. I've talked to this woman, I know I have. Contacted me stating that since she had been so vocal in exposing the New World Order, that she had suffered lesions on her brain. I have talked to that woman. I emailed her back and forth for quite a while. And then she kind of went silent. She moved away thinking that she'd get away from all this stuff. Doctors couldn't explain how the lesions developed on her brain. She suffered from severe headaches much of the time. At the time when she wrote me, she had moved from her home address and was on the move from time to time. When she found a new location, the lesions would heal and she would feel better. The problem was with when she lived in the UK and all medicine and socialized with nature. So when she would go to get treatment, the system would know right where she was and the headaches would start again. Another such person was my first wife. And this is me, okay, talking. A month or 2 before her death, she would tell me that she could hear a hum in the bedroom when we were lying in bed. I personally never heard the hum, but I believed her when she told me that she heard the hum. A couple of months later, she died. The cause of death was a brain abscess that had burst. Incidentally, at the same time, the wives of 2 or 3 other Christians who were exposing the New World Order lies, as I was doing, said that they were experiencing headaches and brain maladies. In time, the maladies were alleviated. Perhaps the news of my wife's death had caused some to slow down their research a bit. Who knows? In regard to my first wife, I hold no grudges since because since Yahweh is Lord, it was time for her to go and to be with Yeshua. She even made that statement a few months before her death, wondering if Yahweh was going to go take her home soon. So instead of doing me harm, if nefarious forces were at work, they were just doing what Yahweh's bidding to bring my wife home and fulfill Yahweh's will. The poor stupid bastard elites have no concept to learn the ability to learn, or the ability to learn that they mean for harm. What they use for harm, Yahweh uses for his glory. And he does that constantly, and they just I don't understand how they're able to operate. Okay, let's see. They must be remember, however, that the elites are satanic in nature, and for the most part, they are Darwinians in their thought process. Where Yahweh protects the weak and the injured, the elites, with their Darwinian thought processes, attempt to hunt down and destroy the weak and the infirm. They see caring for the injured and less fortunate people as being a weakness. Their thought process dramatically is diametrically opposed to Yahweh's hopes, thoughts, and desires. The elite actions are in sync with the nature of the fallen world, but Yahweh's actions are in sync with his kingdom, which is a kingdom of love, peace, joy, and grace, and forever, for that matter. Okay, so let's see. So some people went missing. There was a fellow named Jesse Campos that went missing. This is a very, very long article, and I can't justify reading much of it, more of it, because it would take another hour and a half. So, but what I want to emphasize is that, let's see. Sorry, I got to get on the sheriff here.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
That's it. I'm turning this thing off, folks. Hold on a sec.
It doesn't look like you have an app named Sheriff. You can search for it in the App Store.
And you can shut up. That bothers me when you're doing something like this and the phone comes on like that. That's clear indication that I'm being listened to. Let's see. All right. So the sheriff at the time was Joe Lombardo. And let's see. Police had earlier said the opposite, that Campos was struck after Paddock started firing out the window. Let's see. I'm trying to remember who this guy is. All right. Okay, yeah, he was the guy that was shot in the leg. Okay. There's a lot of speculation that this Campos was the second shooter. And at a certain time during this whole event, he had tried to eliminate Paddock because they were getting close to being done. The law was getting closer to finding him and everything. And so he was going to carry out the rest of the mission and take out Paddock, which he did. But there's the supposition that during the attempt to kill Paddock, there was a struggle and he was shot in the leg. So, but this guy just kind of disappeared from the face of the earth. It's weird. But if there was a second shooter, which I believe there was, I believe there was a lot more on the ground too that were shooting. But why would this happen? Why would you want to take out a bunch of people at a country music festival? Well, first of all, it's in a playground for people that like to gamble and do other things that might not be wholesome. So, putting a fear in people to go there would be one thing. Another thing would be that you just want to. The concert was attended, I believe, by your common everyday white American. Okay, and to this is the exact audience or the exact people that the elites are trying to put down, because the middle class is harmful to them. They feel anyway, and they're trying to eliminate the middle class. And what better way to do it than to start taking out people at concerts? I don't know if that's the case, but it sure makes a lot of sense to me. Anyway, there's a Sheriff Joe. What did I say? Italiano. Joe Lombardo. And when he went into this thing, folks, he was gung ho, man. He was going to find out what was going on. He was going to get a beat on it and just start arresting people left and right and everything else. And if you're looking at the computer screen right now, there's a picture of him looking kind of downcast while he was making a speech. And look at the guy to the right. I think that's an FBI agent right there. Okay, standing there, almost like he's like Lombardo's keeper, making sure that by his presence, Lombardo is not going to trip up and try to tell the truth. Okay, Lombardo, I believe, was probably told, hey, you've got a family here, and if you want to keep having a family and you don't want them to go away, you don't want them killed or anything like that, you better start playing ball with us. Of course, an honorable man will want to take care of his family, so he acquiesced to what they asked for, and he wasn't the same after that, And the fact that I didn't even know he was the governor of Nevada, but when I heard that the other day, I was like, yep, okay, well, that was the sweet deal that they made him. One, you'll live, it will leave your family alone, and two, you'll become the governor someday. And to a guy that might be a power seeker, well, I don't know, I'm not saying he is, but if he was, it really, the appeal really got to him. So, anyway, something happened. Now, if you look at this next picture, you can see Lombardo. He look at the FBI agent looking at him like, oh, you better tell the truth. You better not blurt out anything. If he could talk to him through ESP, he was probably saying, think of your family, think of your family. Because it looked like Lombardo was going to have a lucid moment there. And all of a sudden, he dummied up quite quickly. So, anyway, I think that's the end of it. Okay, so let's change our modus operandi here, and I think that there was one more. Let me okay, real quick. This isn't very long. Okay, I don't think so. No, there's an article that came out October 1st, 2022. About 5 years. It was a 5-year anniversary of what happened in Las Vegas. It was authored by Darag Roche. He was a U.S. news reporter. The article is titled Las Vegas Shooting, 3 Unanswered Questions 5 Years from the Tragedy. Okay, so what could those be? Okay, so I'm going to read this real fast. October 1st marks the 5th anniversary of the deadly mass shooting in Las Vegas, Nevada, that left 58 people dead and more than 800 injured. My God, 800 people injured after a man opened fire at a concert. Stephen Paddock opened fire into the crowd of 22,000 country music fans from the hotel room at the Mandalay-Bay Casino Hotel in Las Vegas in 2017, and later took his own life. Yeah, right. Before police could arrest him. 5 years on from the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history, many believe that there are still questions to be answered about the shooter's motive and the police response. The shooting led to to a federal ban on bump stocks. That could have been the whole reason too. Who knows? Which the shooter had used, which is still subject to legal challenges. Okay, so what was the motive? Here's the 3 questions. What was the motive? Speculation was rife at the time that the mass shooting about what Paddock had carried out the deadly attack. And years later, there's still questions about his motive. An FBI report about the shooting published in 2019 was just 3 pages long and did not identify a motive 16 months after the incident, And with more than 1,000 FBI employees working on the case, the Las Vegas police report into the matter was 187 pages long, but also did not identify Paddock's motive. All those brains and nothing happened. While some survivors criticized the FBI's short report, Aaron Rouse, special agent in charge of the FBI Las Vegas office, said in 2017 that it was a mischaracterization to say that not only to say that not identifying a motive was a failure on the agency's part. Everything that could be done to figure out why it has been done, Rouse said. The president, Donald Trump, addressed the lack of motive in an interview with the Daily Caller at the time, saying, "I was a little surprised and a lot disappointed that they weren't able to find a reason, because you'd like to find a reason for it that you can stop it." Okay. Police said there was no evidence of radicalization or ideology to support any theory that Paddock had supported or followed any hate group or domestic or foreign terrorist organization, and that Paddock's declining wealth over the previous 2 years could have been a contributing factor. So, question 2, how did he get the weapons into the hotel room? The shooting took place on the 32nd floor of hotel suite at the Mandalay-Bay Hotel, and Paddock using multiple rifles during the attack, as Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department said in 2017. Police found at least 23 firearms in the hotel room, and questions have continued about how Paddock was able to get so many weapons into the suite. Hundreds of rounds of ammunition were also found there, along with 2 rifles with scopes set up on tripods at the front of 2 big windows, according to an official who spoke at the New York Times in 2017 on condition of anonymity. Wow. Okay. County Clerk Sheriff Clark County Sheriff Joseph-Lombardo said Paddock had brought at least 10 suitcases in the hotel. Questions were also raised about the fact that Paddock had installed surveillance cameras on the door suite. All right. In 2019, at Mandalay-Bay's hotel, parent company MGM Resorts reached a $735 million settlement with the survivors of the shooting. The settlement was not an admission to liability. Number 3, did police respond fast enough? Paddock was able to shoot dead 58 people and injure more than 800 more, and take down his own life before police entered into the hotel room. That has led to questions about the police response. In an immediate aftermath of the shooting, questions were raised about the speed of the police response. Paddock shot a hotel security guard through his hotel room door 6 minutes before opening fire on the crowd, and stopped shooting after 10 minutes. The first police officer arrived on the scene 2 minutes after Paddock stopped shooting, while officers entered into the room at 15 minutes after the shooting, after he stopped shooting, according to a 2017 BBC report citing Sheriff Lombardo. Okay. Concerns were also raised as whether police should have evacuated the local hotel or whether they acted too slowly when they arrived. However, experts who spoke with the Associated Press in 2018 were divided on whether the police response was adequate. Bernard Zapor, a former agent in charge of U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives in Milwaukee and Phoenix, told AP every door that they pass or come to in contact with is a potential adversary. For the amount of people who were in there, you're basically having an active shooter scene in a small city. The complexity of this is unimaginable. I did think they did everything they were supposed to do. Retired North Las Vegas police lieutenant, SWAT officer, and Marine Tim Bedwell said that he believed police did not act fast enough. They should have gone directly to that room, breached the room, and engaged the threat, he said. In 2019, a Las Vegas police issued a report containing 93 recommendations arising from their handling of the shooting and described communication difficulties on the day, and recommended, among other measures, requirements on planning ahead with neighboring police, fire, hospital, and coroner officials, and make sure more paramedics or trauma kits are available at large-scale events. Let's see. Okay, and that's the end of the article, looks like. Yep. So, the thing I get out of this, folks, there's no answers. Nothing was answered. Not a single thing was answered. Okay? And that's weird. That is just plain weird. Where do we go from there? Well, this points totally to deep state. It does. It's they could have their reasons for doing this. It could be what do they call it, a black swan event. It could be a ruse. It could be just something to get our eyes off of something else. Oh, that would be one hell of a thing to do to get our eyes off of. What was the other thing they were getting our eyes off of? Well, they had to go to such extremes and do something like this. Holy mackerel. I feel bad for Trump because he was president when that happened, and he probably received a lot of flack from it because, as Harry Truman said, the buck stops here. Okay, so let's see. I had a couple other things I wanted to look at. Let's see. Again, let's see. Oh yeah, we looked at the room layout, right? I'm amused that they think that this guy broke this window out, and then broke this window out. And then he had some guns in here, and he was firing these guns. And he gets up, runs all the way to the end of this room, down this hallway, into the main part of the hotel suite, fires from this window for a little while, then gets up, runs back in here. What purpose is that serving? It says he only fired for 10 minutes. It makes more sense to me that there was a shooter here, and there was a shooter here. And that the guy that had the injury in the leg was probably the other shooter. Although it could have been somebody else, but it's pretty convincing in my eyes anyway. Things add up to where it was the fellow that disappeared. And where did he disappear to? If he was the person that set up Paddock, or if he was the more important guy in the whole scenario and knew what the whole plan was, and that Paddock was a patsy, then of course they'd want to get him out of there, and they would disappear him. They'd put him somewhere where, in rural America, or even out of the country, and give him a different name and the whole 9 yards. And that's what happened. He disappeared. So, hey, take it with a grain of salt, right? Okay. So let's real quick. Let's look at what the suite looked like, and so you can get an idea again of the size of it, folks. What was it, 2,700 square feet or something like that? Anyway, let's look and see.
This is the Las Vegas Shooter Suite. It's called the Vista Suite, and it's a spacious 1,700 square feet with a wraparound view overlooking the Vegas Strip. Somehow, Stephen Paddock sneaked in 23 guns in 10 pieces of luggage without housekeeping ever raising a red flag. We're also learning more about how the massacre was staged. This illustration shows how Paddock opened fire into the crowd at the 15-acre concert site below, using a two-legged bipod and a gun platform. The killer used a device like this that turns his semi-automatic weapon into a rapid-fire killing machine, as seen in this YouTube video.
I don't know, folks. It stinks. It really does. It still stinks because nobody's done anything about it. This was popular for maybe a half a year, and then all of a sudden, it's gone. This is about the same time that, well, actually, no, I think Finicum was earlier than this. I think Obama was still president when Lavoy Finicum was assassinated. But a lot of things happened in the last century, towards the end of the last century, that were done to the people to kind of assert the idea that, hey, we're the government and you don't mess with us, okay? Whether it was the Branch Davidian compound, that was totally the FBI's fault. They're the ones that started that fire that burned up all those people. Ruby Ridge with Randy Weaver, how they took his wife out. Just a pregnant woman walking outside and they shot her dead. Yeah. I'm so sorry, folks. It just burns my blood, boils my blood sometimes when I see these things that happen. And I don't know. So why did I bring this up today? Well, it's been a number of years now. Well, it's been 8 years, and things like this have to be brought up again. Perhaps we should do another show on the Branch Covidians. Davidians. That's what I used to call people that were into the COVID shot, the Branch Covidians. So that was on my brain from a long time ago. Anyway, so this, just to show you, this is going to happen again and again. Okay, I mean, especially if Trump is not successful in cleaning up this country and getting all the crap out of here. It's going to happen again and again because the government's going to let you think you're free, and then someday they're going to put something like this together, and they're going to realize, hey, we're this close away from being killed. We could go to the mall, and there could be an attack there. We could go to a movie theater, there could be an attack there. That's the thing that they're trying to rule by fear. And we can let them do that if we choose to, but if since a lot of us are believers in Yeshua, we go by the ethic that Yahweh has his hand on things. He knows what's going on. He knows what to do. And that we are his servants. Yes, we have a degree of sovereignty, but for the most part, we've surrendered that and given that to Yeshua so that he can be the Lord of our lives and direct us in the path that's right, down that narrow road that not too many people seem to get on. Yeah, they all like that big freeway where they can get where they're going really fast, but it never really pays off, does it? So anyway, yeah, I just want to enforce it. When these things happen, they happen for a reason, okay? He knows the reason, okay? And even though it's very brings a lot of anxiety, or could, to us, that there's people that have such control over us that they could do something like what happened in Las Vegas and get away with it. And what the real kicker is that the casino had to, the parent company of the casino was the MGM Grand, had to be the ones to compensate the people for their losses. That should have been a government thing because the government's the one that killed everybody, right? But they're trying to make us think that because democracy is a failed. Actually, we're a democratic republic, but they want to make us feel that that's a system that doesn't work, a system that lets people run roughshod over other people and kill a whole bunch of people at a concert and things like that, where it's actually the fault of the people that are trying to enslave us that cause these things to happen. So anyway, let's see. We've been on for an hour and 45 minutes. I think that's pretty good for a Tuesday. What do you think, folks? Let's see. Do I have any special messages here? If you're a YouTube person or even any of these other venues, you go to YouTube. We have a Patreon account there. And we can't really get a YouTube account yet. We have to have like 1,000 people that follow us and stuff like that. And that, that will happen over time. My lifetime, I don't know. It will happen. And And then we can move on to other things, and use things that YouTube provides for us to use. Other than that, we're going to have to use other venues like Patreon, and use one with Rumble too. So if you go to Rumble, there's a community you can join there. And I've already got a lot of articles posted to that, and I'm posting articles 2 or 3 daily at Patreon. So anyway, it's onward and upward, folks. It really is. Please tell your friends about Opposing the Matrix. I think it's very important that we do that. People don't usually find things like this on their own. Yes, they'll use keywords from time to time and find us that way, but I don't know. Just if you like the show, tell people about it, okay? And I want to again thank you for your prayers, and encourage you to keep on praying for me and Opposing the Matrix, and me includes me and my wife. That we both can remain healthy, even though we're experiencing the onslaught of evil, who are trying to make us sick and decrepit and disabled. I'm not going to live for that like that. The news I got the other day about my kidneys, having tumors in them and stuff, and having to maybe go on chemo, maybe having to lose the kidney. That's news that would normally make a person depressed or very anxious. And I'm not that way because, like Scripture says, to live is Christ, to die is gain. So if I'm alive, I'm going to live for Yeshua. If I die, I'm going to go to heaven and be with Yeshua. So what's the big deal? Yeah, I mean, it hurts people that are left here on earth, the ones that loved you and stuff like that. But the reality is that sooner or later they're going to be there too. So what's the big deal? So again, thank you for your prayers, and if you want to join the YouTube channel, please do so. Remember to click the hands up, the thumbs up symbol down there, and click on I can't remember what it was. I'm told that so many times I've watched YouTube. I must have watched about 10,000 videos on YouTube, and it says it every time, and I always forget. But subscribe. That's it. Go ahead and subscribe, because when you do, you can get onto the website, and there's a lot of neat stuff you can download from there, and there's going to be a lot more neat stuff coming up, because I'm dedicated to putting stuff on there like gangbusters. So anyway, with that having been said, I hope you have a nice rest of the evening, what's left, especially you people on the East Coast, because it's what is it? It's almost midnight on the East Coast. And if you're still watching, hey, God bless you, man. God bless you. It means that you are interested in learning, and you're interested in knowing, and you're interested in maybe knowing what to do to fight against these bastards that are out to kill us and to take away our joy. But they will never take away our joy, because the Lord is our strength. He's our joy. And by Lord, I mean Yahweh. He has a name. Let's call him by his name. Don't make it into a stringent rule, because a lot of people don't like that. But yes, his name is Yahweh, and he told Moses to tell the Israelites that were enslaved in Egypt. He said, well, what did I say if they ask me who sent me? He says, tell them that I am sent you. I am that I am. And basically it's Yod-Heh Vav-Heh. It's I am that I am is a really interesting thing, real quick before you get off of here. It means it means not just I am that I am, it's I am that I was, I will be when I once was. All it's past, present, and future of Yahweh, all tied into one, and all stating that he's been the same yesterday, today, and forever, as it says in these Philippians about Yeshua. So, with that in mind, our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above in wisdom, power, and love. Yahweh is an awesome God. Okay. Folks, may Yahweh bless you and keep you. May he make his face to rise upon you and be gracious unto you. May he watch your going out and your coming in, your rising up and your lying down. May He grant you the peace that passes all understanding. May He give you the desires of your heart as long as they are in accordance with His will. And just get a good sleep tonight. Have a good day tomorrow, and tomorrow night get a good sleep. And we'll get together again on Thursday. How's that sound? Don't know what the topic is, but it will be something. Okay? One of these days, I'm just going to have a show where we talk about nothing. Yeah, that's a good idea. A show of nothing. Kind of reminds me of a Seinfeld episode. But anyway, folks, hey, love you guys. And thanks for your prayers. And never stop believing in Yahweh. He's coming every day is a day closer to Him coming back. And we can't afford to be forgetting Him or putting Him on the shelf. Yeah, can't do that anymore. Not that it's a good thing anyway, but the closer it gets, the more important it is that we keep Him in our lives daily, and in our hearts daily, in our minds daily, in our thoughts daily. Okay, so adios, amigos. See you later. Bye.